Welcome back into the Slipstream. First and foremost, we want to say thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it and couldn't do it without your continued support. We have got a lot to talk about tonight. We got our usual suspects at full speed in the Slipstream tonight. Austin, Brady, Matt, and myself, 1995 Malibu Grand Prix bumper car champion, as well as reigning, defending F1 fantasy champion, Cole Trickle Jr. We spent the past few weeks doing a deeper dive into each constructor, past, present, and future, based on their finishing order from the last season. Today, we're going to continue with the American outfit Haas. With the popularity of Drive to Survive on the rise in the States, team principal Gunther Steiner has become almost a household name out here. The former Jaguar and Red Bull Racing technical director is easily the funniest and most entertaining team boss on the paddock. But honestly, Haas is still widely considered to be a second-rate Ferrari knockoff team. The past few seasons for Haas, Gunther has summed it up quite nicely, saying that they look like a bunch of wankers. Minus the 2018 season, where they were accused of copying the Ferrari SF70H and finishing fifth in the constructors, they finished as following. 2016, 8th. 17th, 8th. 2018, like we just talked about, 5th. 19th, 9th. 20th, 9th. 21st, 10th. Nikita Mazepin. 22nd, 8th. So we're hoping with 2030, we have a lot of new exciting things to come up for them. Some big changes have happened with the team after they dropped off the golden child, Mick Schumacher, from their team and picked up the Hulk, suck my balls, mate, Nico Hulkenberg. And they've added a lot of money to the title sponsor with MoneyGram. So they started last season with finishing fifth at Bahrain, and we hope to we had high hopes for them, what they were going to do, but they kind of let us down throughout the rest of the season. I apologize for the text. I'm going to come back to that. They started last season at one point finishing fifth at Bahrain, and we started with high hopes, but we were kind of let down throughout the rest of the season. So I'm curious what everyone thinks about what happened to them last year and where the team is heading with all these changes.
Well, I know you already mentioned it, but with the fantasy thing, you can suck my balls, man. I'm coming for you this year. Yeah, I mean, look, I think you summed it up nicely. I mean, Haas, we're an American podcast, so we're rooting for Haas to be better than they are. I think the most exciting news for them is MoneyGram's involvement and has given them the opportunity to secure the financial backing for multiple years. And Gunther's come out and said they can finally spin up to the cost cap, which they have not been able to do to date. So hopefully that means more money, more investment into the car, better performance, right? So we'll see. We'll see if that results or turns into results on the track, but that's got to be at least a good positive starting place for 2020.
Keyword with multiple years of financial support, unlike their last title sponsor who committed to that and then could not. But Gunther Steiner, he's Haas. Gunther Steiner he's a certified American in my eyes. He lives in America. The team is American. Big things not happening this year for them, but with the money coming in from MoneyGram, with the added wind tunnel time, I think we got a few years coming in that may be good for them. Not 2023, but the future.
So Cole, where do you want to focus the conversation first? Do you want to talk about last year? Do you want to talk about our kind of where we see this year taking us?
Let's start with this year, and we'll come back to what happened last year. So I want what your take is, Austin, on Nico Hulkenberg. We get rid of Mick, we pick up Nico.
I think Nico is a known commodity. He unfortunately holds the record for the most amount of races without a podium. I think he's had a couple opportunities to get the podium and has let them slip out of his fingers. But if you look at kind of the last handful of races, his full season, he had, I think, like a 6-race scoring spree. I think he's generally finished in the top 10 in the drivers' championships in his career. So he's a good driver. I don't think he's upper echelon, but I think he's a great driver to kind of hold the wheel as a pun until they find the next driver to fill his space. I think he's a good, just, interim placeholder to get it done, week in and week out, but you're not going to expect him to really push or challenge those better, more established teams at the front of the grid.
To add to that, look, I think there's a lot of people who are Nico Hulkenberg fans. I'm certainly one of them. Sometimes I say I don't really know why. I think at least the last couple of years he's been the ultimate fill-in, right? He's had a couple opportunities to fill in, whether it's COVID or absences. I know he filled in for 2 races for Seb last year and performed pretty well. But Sten, to your point, and there was a recent article that came out from a former Haas and other team engineer. He basically said, this is a waste of time putting Nico in that seat. So I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm trying to look towards Team Haas, building the future. You've got money in the bank and in your account now. You've got opportunity. So to me, it feels like Gunther and Team Haas are going for results immediately in 2023, and they think that Nico is faster than Mick. But I don't know, if I was a team principal, which I will never be, so take that for what it's worth. I would have liked the opportunity to invest further in Mick and seeing what he can turn out to be. That feels like the more longer term strategy. I mean, Mick is like 12 years younger than Nico. Nico is 35, and now maybe he can go Fernando Alonso and be in the sport into his 40s. Who knows? But it just doesn't feel like it's a move for the future.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, Brady. I think that Mick, actually, it was announced today, whatever day this gets produced or published. He got a McLaren reserve role today. So between Mercedes and McLaren, they obviously see something in him that Haas wasn't willing to continue to marinate for him to be the leader of that team in the future. So I don't think I think it's a great move for the short term, but I absolutely agree. You can't build a team around Nico Hulkenberg. He's been around long enough. It would be outstanding to see Nico get on the podium at some point, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen in a Haas. So in 2022, I'm going to come back for just a second because I'm going to dig into a little 22. So I mentioned before, K-Mag finished 5th at Bahrain at the beginning of the season. And I feel like we all thought that this might be the time that Haas had an opportunity. And K-Mag came in there after picking up Nikita's seat that just kind of got taken from him for all the stuff that's happening. But he came in, race 1, finished 5th. So I think we all had high hopes for where they were going to go. But I think, honestly, the high point of Haas's entire 2022 season was Kevin Magnussen's pole. Otherwise, they didn't really do anything spectacular, and they had plenty of DNFs, and Mick did $3 million worth of damages. So 2022, I don't know if I would say it was they looked like a bunch of wankers. It seemed like they were kind of getting their feet underneath them a little bit. And from my understanding, they only had one upgrade all season in 2022, hoping that they would have more money for 2023 to develop. So hopefully those that carries over for this season, and with the MoneyGram money, they can make some moves.
Well, the first move that they made, and again, we're recording these a little early, but when it gets released, is Haas was the first one to come out with their 2023 livery. And it looks pretty good. And it's not a home run. It's not oh my God, this is the best livery I've ever seen in my life, but it looks good. It's nice, again, going back to MoneyGram, have a title sponsor. What was it before the season last year? They basically had a blank Haas, at least during testing or one of the practices, because of the whole Nikita Mazepin Russia situation. And so they've got new money, new sponsor, new logos throughout their car. There's no red, white, and blue. It's more red and black, more black features than white features this year. So I think it looks pretty good. And so I think that, Cole, to your point, we keep going back to MoneyGram and their involvement. I think they might have been one of the first teams to turn their attention to 2023. More funds. I don't know. I feel like Haas might be ready to surprise us this year, but are they going to all of a sudden get back to that 5th place like they were in 2018? Probably not, but I'm hopeful for some more moments like the Kevin Magnussen pole last year. That was pretty incredible.
I just hope they get to keep a title sponsor for a full season. It's been a long time since they had a full run with a full title sponsor. Rich Energy didn't make it. The Mazepin family didn't make it. So hopefully MoneyGram, with all the crypto issues that have been happening with the sponsors, they get to keep their title sponsor for this year because they desperately need the funding for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all really excited to see that 5th place. Looking back, you've got the Mercedes who aren't performing well, but he finished behind them. You've got the double Red Bull DNF, like the last 4 laps or whatever. So he was given the opportunity. It was looking like a 7th place, but regardless, 7th is still great. It was kind of best of the rest. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Brazil was amazing. I think, again, you have to make the most of opportunities when you're able to. And I think Haas was spot on. They sent him out at the perfect time. I'm pretty sure that K-Mag was the only person to get 2 runs. The first one was a little bit slick, but they sent him out immediately, and he was the first one, and he was the only one to have clean air. So kudos to them. It was absolutely devastating seeing in, I think it was the sprint race, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the sprint race when Danny Rick clipped him and took him out. So, actually, no, that was during the race because he fell back during the sprint race. Yeah, he fell back during the sprint race to whatever it was, maybe 10th or whatever. And then turn 7 in Brazil, kind of that off-camber right-hander just got clipped by Danny Rick. And it was just devastating because it was such a high moment. I'm sure there will be amazing footage on Drive to Survive where, Gene's calling, or Gunther's calling Gene, he's not there, but hey dude, we're on the podium. I'm not kidding you. I'm not fucking with you. We are on the podium. We're on the pole. That's such an amazing moment, but you want more to happen like that for Haas, but you have to keep your expectations in check because, again, they've got Nico, who has the best hair on the grid, but that's about the best he can do.
I think the Kevin Magnussen pole last year might be my favorite moment of the whole season. Because to me, there was a lot of great moments, don't get me wrong. I mean, Red Bull dominated, Carlos Sainz first win, George Russell first win. A lot of great moments, right? But that was so out of nowhere because the conditions were sort of iffy, and he made it into Q3 and got that run. And then when I think the red flag came out, you knew it was happening. So it was kind of this build up for a few minutes, and then it was like, holy shit, Kevin Magnussen is on pole. Saw the videos of him getting out of the car, celebrating. It was pure joy. So I think it was my biggest shock moment of the season, perhaps, and also my favorite moment of last season. So will they get another opportunity like that in the future? I don't know. I think between Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg, the team has 2 poles together. I think they each have 1. Or maybe K-Mag has 2 now. I don't remember. But it's very few, right? So the odds of that happening again are incredibly low, but I'm hopeful that they can surprise us again.
Yeah, I mean, they both have probably the most incredible 2 podium stats in all of F1. Sten, you already mentioned that Hulk has the most races without a podium, and K-Mag, his first ever race was a podium and has not podiumed since then. So I don't think we see either one of those break this year. But a moment for one of those mid-team tier teams to back of the pack like that pole would just be, it'd be cool to see it from an American team from Haas this year. See if we can get that kind of excitement again, because those are things that excitement is not something that you can just capture. It's so organic. It's so exciting. The entire paddock was nuts, right? And because of the rain and where they and where they were parked, he had to walk the entire paddock back, right? And just seeing the people in there just going nuts as the camera follows him down that stretch was just
and don't forget
moment.
He wasn't driving for them at the beginning of the season. He didn't even have a ride. He got that phone call and just filled in at the right time. So kudos to K-Mag for stepping into that role and delivering to the best of his ability. And I mean, honestly, kicking Mick Schumacher out of his seat because he outperformed him.
Yes, I'm curious. I have a question for the group. We don't have to do full-on predictions yet, but I want a one-choice answer here. Who scores more points in 2020? K-Mag or Nico?
I mean, I would say K-Mag. He's been on the team almost since the beginning. So I just think he just has a comfortability with that team that he knows. But I mean, Mr. Consistency, it will be a fun. They might be one of the best teammate battles to watch for the season.
I don't think Hulk was a great pick for them, but I think he actually finishes ahead of K-Mag. I do think he's a better overall driver, so I do think he'll be able to finish higher overall throughout the season. I don't think future prediction. I don't think K-Mag's on the team after this year. His contract's out. I think he's gone. But yeah, so I think Hulk finishes higher than him.
I go with Hulk, and I also bold prediction. He's going to get his first podium. It's going to happen. It's going to be a street track in the rain, crazy conditions, but I think he's going to get his first podium.
I'm also going to go Nico. I would love the podium. I'm also going to go Nico, and here's why. We talked about earlier, K-Mag finished 5th in Bahrain, which was 10 points. 25 the entire season. So you remove that one race. His score against Mick was 15-12. So, and we saw Mick, for as much as we love him, he made mistakes, right? He had chances to score points and didn't get it done. So I guess now the more that I think about this, maybe I do agree with the decision to go away from Mick and to Nico. But if you want that consistency, the guy not to make those mistakes and maybe get you a few more points, I think Nico can do that. So I'm going to go Nico outscoring K-Mag this season as well.
You know, something that you just said kind of made me remember. So, Cole, you had said, or really the consensus thus far has been the best moment of the 2022 season was K-Mag getting that pole position. I think Haas also gave us the best moment of the season. And I don't know if a lot of people saw it, but during the cool down and end laps in Abu Dhabi, Mick Schumacher decided going into sector 3 to just start ripping donuts in the car on the side of the track. And his engineer got over the radio and said, Mick, stop doing donuts. Get back to the paddock right now. But Mick just living it up, just ripping donuts in the middle of the desert was so quality.
Yeah, man, it's a $10,000 fine on the track for that. So Haas is getting fined money that Mick isn't bringing to the table. So I get it. It's not like he did anything spectacular. He just, take it for a little test drive or joyride at the end. I get that, Mick. Let's go on to predictions for Haas for the season. Constructors, where are we finishing?
So first, this one's been tough. I mean, as we go through all of these preseason predictions, you'll hear sort of who we like where. When I look at the standings, they finished 8th. So that was ahead of AlphaTauri and Williams. I think they'll for sure be ahead of Williams again. AlphaTauri, they're a big unknown for me. I don't know what to expect out of them in 2020. But then if I'm going to move them up, then they have to leapfrog somebody. Aston, I don't think so. Alpine, I don't think so. McLaren, of course not. So to me, I feel like their best place is 8th, but I'm going to go 9th. I think they will do better than Williams. I think maybe AlphaTauri gets a little bit better this year, even though they got a rookie. I'm going to go 8th. I don't feel great about it, but they're going to go back-to-back seasons at 8th place.
I'm actually going to agree with that. I don't think they can leapfrog anybody that's ahead of them. I think this is Steiner's 10th year as a team principal. He's only finished above 7th once. I'm not saying that's all him, but just from a team perspective. I think they're going to battle with Tari. Tari with Yuki who struggled a little bit this year, a new driver. I think I'll keep them at 9th, and that's why I'll have. Though I think I said in the other one, Tari would be 6th. We're winging it here on this pod. That's what we do best. But I don't think they'll be any higher than 8th. I guess I'll say that. I think they're locked in one of those bottom 3 spots.
I guess as I'm writing kind of where I map the 2023 predictions, because we'll do this podcast and then we'll record another one in a couple days, and it's hard to keep track of where we're going. So I wrote everything down just to a gut reaction. I have them in 7th. I think Romeo falls off completely. I think it's just a straight punt year. We've already talked about it. You guys have already heard it. I think Williams takes a step forward, and I think that AlphaTauri still hasn't figured out what's happening. I think Haas saved enough last year and invested enough in this year's car that I think they make a push to try to lead that back, the back markers. And I think they're going to be 7.
I don't disagree. I would say that the ceiling is 7 and probably the floor is 9. So somewhere in there. So I would probably lean 8, just keep it 8 across the board with Haas because they seem to love that number the most. So yeah, really exciting things to come for Haas this season. It's probably the most I've been excited for Haas in a couple seasons, just with a real title sponsor and another driver who's not a rookie. A lot for them to build on. Obviously, we can't wait to see Gunther in Drive to Survive just to hear the shenanigans that he has. But yeah, Haas, I'm going to say 8 across the board for Haas, and I expect K-Mag to outscore Nico.
Just one last thing on that, Cole. I know you always like to say what's good for the sport, right? It'd be great if we were all wrong in these predictions, right? I mean, I think we talked a little bit about this on previous podcasts. The whole point of the new regulations to hopefully tighten up the grid, right? So I'd love to see a Haas finish in the top 5 in constructors. Is it going to happen? Probably not. We're also realistic, but you never know. And it would be good for the sport. It'd be good for the growth, the continued growth in the U.S. As based. So I hope we're all wrong with Haas, and I hope they surprise us.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Nothing would make me happier than seeing Haas on the podium or actually fighting for a real championship. Not going to happen this coming season, more than likely, but hopefully in the coming seasons we will get that. So to wrap up, Haas, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you listening. We'll be back in a couple days again with another constructor breakdown. Tune in to us. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, social media. We are there. Thanks again. We appreciate it. We will see you next time.